Hi, Scott Orlin with Cinema-Magazin. You know his name, you also know his face. Matt Damon, the new movie Jason Bourne. 9 years. What the hell's taken so long?
You know, we didn't have a story. We didn't have a story, and we didn't want to screw it up. And we love this franchise as much as anybody, and we didn't want to force it. And so we were highly incentivized to make the movie, but also highly incentivized not to blow it. So we waited 9 years.
And one of the things, the attributes at least thrown towards the Bourne films is it's up the quotient, so to speak, with action. I mean, even Bond has been compared. It needs to get more Bourne. So for you in this movie, what were some of the sequences where like, oh my God, I get to do this?
Well, when they called and said that we were going to do this car chase on the Vegas Strip, I was like, you guys are from Europe. You don't understand. Like, we're not doing that. Like, they will never shut down the Strip. It's like shutting down Times Square. It's this iconic, place full of tourists, full of people. Like, and they somehow, the city was awesome here in Vegas. Like, they wanted it to happen, and they made it happen. And basically, what it meant was we shot the whole film around that sequence. They said, if you come in January between this date and this date, that's when we're quietest, and that's when we could actually do this. Weekdays only, not weekends, obviously. After midnight, so between midnight and 5 a.m. before the sun came up and before rush hour, we basically built that whole sequence. And so it just meant, like, shooting a car chase is hard, and it takes a lot of logistics, but shooting it with that kind of time pressure was, I mean, our guys just were awesome. They were incredible. And once we knew that we had that location, this iconic location, we were like, we got to do something big, like bigger than we've ever done. And so
I found that too. What's really fascinating when you see this movie is, for so long in Hollywood history, especially when there have been antagonists, we've had the Germans, the Russians, the people from the Middle East. Is it more interesting or more reflective when the enemy is ourselves? When we turn to people who...
I think, and that's always been, the Bourne movies have always been in the spirit of those 70s paranoid films, right? And this one's no different. But he's a character who's hugely skeptical of institutional power, like in any form. So it's the government, or it's a giant corporation, or it's, even the countervailing forces of, the hacktivist community. Like, Bourne doesn't trust anybody. And I think that's why he speaks to so many people, because I think that's kind of the spirit of our times. We're all leery of these institutions.
Especially the Boston sports machines. Got to be careful of those. Anyway,
you got to root for those. You've got to root for them.
As always, thank you so much.
Scott.
This is Scott Orlin. Until next time.